On this episode of Whistle Talk, join me, Mike D, the referee, as I sit down with head football coach of Kean University, Dan Garrett, as we discuss a college coach's take on football officiating. That's today's episode of Whistle Talk. Coming up next.
Are you a football fan? Have you ever found yourself wondering what in the world was that ref thinking? Well, Mike D, the referee, is here to help. Join me on Whistle Talk as I talk to professionals on the field and in the booth to help you understand what is going on inside the mind of a football official.
All right, I'd like to welcome in head coach of Kean University, Mr. Dan Garrett. Just a couple quick background things. Dan and I go back a real long time. Dan and I were old college roommates, college teammates, and we coached college football together for a little bit there before Dan moved on and is now the head coach of Kean since 2006. So let me hand it over. Dan, thank you for coming on the show today.
Yeah, Mike, man, thanks for having me. This is definitely unique and different and awesome. Like you said, we go all the way back to 1993. Played
Yeah,
together, roomed together, worked in our jobs together at certain venues, and coached together. So we'll leave it at that.
absolutely. May have had a beer or two together back in the day.
Maybe an occasional single one, yes.
So, for those that aren't familiar with Dan's background, Dan is also the all-time winningest coach at Kean University too. So, since 2006, the head coach, previously defensive coordinator there, previously defensive coordinator at Montclair State, where what did you DC? What 25 years old as a defensive coordinator?
Yeah, Mike. I mean, we just were living together a couple of years before, and 25 years old, I get handed the reins to run Coach Gina Cola's defense at Montclair State. Yeah,
Yeah,
unbelievable. I mean,
good
just an
times.
unreal. Yeah.
So now jumping right into our interview here. So have you on Whistle Talk tonight, where we're going to kind of talk about a coach's perspective and a college coach's perspective about high school officiating or officiating in general. But you've had the luxury being in the position that you're in. Plus, Dan also has kids of his own that are going through the high school ranks playing football. You've seen a lot of different high school football games and football games in general. In your career, how have you seen the officiating evolved in the past to where we are today?
Yeah. I think where we are today, and you know this, I think things circulate and go full circle. I think that the society we live in today, it's hard to get people who want to officiate. Their love for the game is there, but people just don't want to be hassled, embarrassed, belittled for that $50 or $75 check if you're lucky. So I know that people are certainly passionate about being an official for football, but I know there's also a shortage where to the point where there's some college refs who work high school games on Friday nights and vice versa, because it's really hard to get the assigners to fill games. And even when you have state playoff games and consolation games or regular season.
Oops.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just the shortage and having to rework, game schedules just to fill games with referees. So, it's challenging. So you're getting people into the sport and the career of officiating.
Yeah.
And my thing, it's always, there's going to be learning curves in any profession, right? But the luxury that other jobs have is you're not on this public display. Like policemen and firemen and coaches and referees, you're going to get lambasted, and people are always going to have an opinion about you. So I think that, that's the
Yeah. And,
challenge. Go ahead.
unfortunately, right now, for those that aren't aware, in the state of New Jersey, there's a little controversy going on at the high school basketball ranks right now. Unfortunately, in a state semifinal game last night, it came down to a last second call that got overturned, and unfortunately, a team kind of lost out on a win that they earned and deserved, and not taking anything away from the other team. Both teams, I mean, it was a 1 point game down to the wire, but the human element came into play, and unfortunately, there's one school and one community that is hurt by a decision, and I don't know the officials. I don't even know who the officials were that were involved in it, but it's unfortunate because now it's a big X on them, unfortunately. And right now, social media has been going wild, bashing these individuals, and it's unfortunate. I mean, the officials that I'm friends with in all the different sports, we're all out there for the right reasons for the most part. I mean, none of us really have a skin in the game. We want to officiate the game the best of our ability and let the kids have the best experience as possible. So it's unfortunate, but sometimes things do get a little crazy.
Well,
So
like you said, Mike,
talking about
social media.
now specifically with you with the college officials and stuff like that, you're starting to learn and see guys over a couple of years now getting the same different officials, seeing new officials.
I was going to talk
All right.
about, you said about social media. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a voice. Everyone's got a voice now, and everyone's got a camera. Whereas when we were in college, right, that didn't exist. There was no cameras. There was no internet. There was no social media. And like now, everyone always thinks they're right, and everyone's opinion is right, and that's not always the case. It's easy after the fact to, when you want to lambaste, whether it be an official or a coach, be in the moment and having to make an average decision in that moment in time is better than making no decision at all or the best decision 3 weeks from now. So, I think those things in society, that's the change, not so much in the officiating curve, but society has changed so much in the last 20, 30 years, which isn't a big window, but there's
Yeah.
a lot of different technology. There's a lot of different voices. There's a lot of different editors and chiefs out there who run their own newspapers on a
Yep.
daily basis. Yeah.
And you got crazy officials that have their own podcast too. So,
Touche.
but hopefully we're able to make that a little bit better. But
Yeah.
with that being said, with the situation that we were just talking about with the basketball game, how do you in a football game handle possibly a controversial call? Because I'm sure not every single call has gone your way or the way that you've liked it. So how do you try to approach that?
Yeah, and like you said, I've been doing it long enough now where I normally see a lot of familiar faces,
Yep.
so I can go over to a guy and put my call sheet over my mouth and be like, hey, man, can you go talk to the line judge on the other side next time? Because, we're missing something here. Or I can go over to the line judge on my side and be like, hey, when you get a chance, can you just go talk to the umpire? Like, he's got to see what I'm seeing at some point. Like, I have eyes too, and it's, maybe it's just a conversation like that. I mean, in all my years, Mike, I had my first 15-yard flag penalty this past fall. And that was a combination of, you know me as a player, but as a coach, I wasn't proud of that moment because I
Yep.
usually handle it well. Like, I get there's a human element. I get we don't have instant replay. I understand the game moves fast. I understand that we only have 7 officials, not 8, like the big time. And those even guys at the big time make mistakes and they have instant replay to correct it. So, like, I'm really, really poised to understand like the calls of the game are going to happen. And I don't always have to agree with them because I have the luxury to watch it on film on Sunday and then send it into the assigner if it's egregious. And
Yep.
I've only sent 3 or 4 clips since 2006 when I thought they were actually egregious. So
Hmm.
I understand that officiating is part of the game. And if we do what we're supposed to do, it shouldn't change the outcome of the game potentially. Unfortunately, like we said with this instance last night, you have one official saying it counted, the other official coming in overruling it, and then the luxury of having to see it. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, he was right. I was wrong. I apologize. But then once the officials leave the field or the officials leave the court, that game's final, and there's really nothing that can be done.
Yeah.
So it's part of the game, man, and I don't always have to like it. And I tell you that's that. Like, and I'm telling you, like, me because we played together, and I was out of my mind back then as a
Yeah, I can
player and a
honestly
young.
say Danny was an intense character back in the day. So,
And
still
I
very passionate about the sport today, but definitely
yeah,
a little bit more on the edge back then.
yeah, I definitely exude more poise now, and I make sure I go up to guys like whether that's pregame or when they tell me, hey, about who's your get back coach. I'll even tell them like everybody, like including me, like we or we get late in the season, hey, who's your get back coach? I'll be like, look, it's game 9. We haven't had any issues. We'll police that. No one should be talking to you anyway. Like those types of conversations just to build some type of rapport. But again, after 18 years being a head guy, like there's a lot of familiar faces, but the ones I don't see typically are either ones that are young and upcoming, right?
Hmm.
And they're learning, and there is a learning curve, and I start
Absolutely.
seeing them grow and develop. But unfortunately, the head coach in me, like they also have a say in my livelihood
Yes.
because at the end of the day, I understand it's a human element, But I also want some other, not everyone, because there's some really good ones I've come across. But there's some other ones who just want to be seen, man. Like they just want to let everybody in the stadium know they're there. And I just try to go over to that guy and be like, hey, do you know, like I keep my job based on wins and losses, and like you're impacting the game a little bit, like where you're throwing 7 flags or 8 flags in one spot on the team here, and you're throwing 8 flags. Like we get it. Everyone saw you. Like there was a game a couple years ago down at Rowan. It was the fourth quarter in a one-score game. He stops the game with like 8 minutes left to say, "Hey, everyone, pull your socks up." Like, really? Like, really? This is we're going to do this now on the 20-yard line going in. We're going to stop the game and say, "Pull your socks up." We're really doing this?
Yeah, I get it. There's times where I like to stuff the flag a little bit deeper. I mean, my motto is, and I'm in the middle of the field. I'm an umpire at the high school level, so everybody's seeing me out there. I like to go unseen. I don't want to be seen unless I have to call it at the point of the attack. I want to go unseen. I don't want people to know my name. Heck, they announce it over the PA system. I laugh about it. I point to somebody else and say, "That's him." So that's just my personal motto, because like you, I've been in the coaching shoes before, and I know how hard you work and everything like that, and I want to give the best game for all those kids and for all the coaches and all the time and effort that they're putting in, and I'm trying to put in my best effort too, because if you don't know me, if you don't remember me after the game, I feel I did a good game. There are games where I've thrown 6 or 7 flags because it's had to be called. It's egregious, or it's at the point of the attack, or whatever it may be. But I'd prefer to go into a huddle and talk to a kid. And one of the biggest things I always loved emphasizing to guys that I officiate with now is talking to the coaches. Like just let them know and be honest with them. Hey, coach, I missed that one. Or hey,
Yeah.
coach, tell 79 keep his hand inside, whatever it may be. But opening the communications, I find that tends to make my job a little bit easier, and it helps you as a coach understand what's going on. And coach 79, if he keeps holding, I'm going to have to bang him for one. And now it allows you as the coach, hey, listen, you're on your last straw. You're going to hurt us 10 yards, 15 yards, whatever it may be. So opening that lines of communication, I think, is very key on both parts. And like what you
100%.
said, going up and talking to the official and not just screaming and yelling at the official, which we've had happen to us.
Well, again, right? Just like some officials want to be seen, right? Let's call it on both sides here. There's some coaches who think screaming and yelling and just being seen on the sideline is their sole purpose, so everyone in the stadium to see them, right? And again, like let's just also remember, like every head coach, I don't care, high school, middle school, college, you're mentoring and a role model for every young man on that sideline. So when you act a fool, they act a fool. When
Yep.
you keep your poise, they keep your poise, and that's why I'm embarrassed of the one flag I got because I said some things that I couldn't take back in the moment where it was just unraveling, and like that was 1995 Dan Garrett coming out,
Yeah.
and as a head coach, at 19, 20 years old, all right, it's not acceptable, but I can be like, all right, that was that guy then. At the age now of 50 and getting that flag and saying what I said to that guy in the sideline, okay, I'm lucky he didn't throw me out.
Yeah, it happens, and it's an emotional game. I mean, there's no sugarcoating that. I mean, it's a bunch of grown ass men going out there and hitting the crap out of each other for 40 minutes, 50 minutes, 60 minutes, whatever game level that you're playing at. Emotions are going to get the best of you, and again, the time commitment that you guys are putting in as players, as coaches, it's understandable that sometimes your frustration gets you let it out at the wrong time, possibly, or just a little bit overboard. And understanding that it happens. Me as an official, heck, I've ridden officials as a coach, so I kind of have some thicker skin as an official now. I kind of let coaches get it off their chest if they need be, and then I'll go back over to them a play or two later and say, "Listen, coach, we're good now. Like you've spoken your piece. Now let's get back to the game." Um, but how you're talking and how you're describing it to me as an official is a fantastic perspective. I've come to find a lot of times as an official that it's not necessarily the head coach but it's sometimes the assistant coaches or even the players when the head coach doesn't see. How do you, as a program, Dan, how do you talk to your players or talk to your assistants about how to handle, again, same thing, it's some of their livelihoods, but so how do
Yeah.
you address it with your coaching staff and with your players?
So, I mean, we hit it on with the players early in preseason camp. Like we
Okay.
hold an in-season meeting way before the game one, and we talk about what we expect of them. They shouldn't be talking to referees. Now, some referees like to open that banter, and they like going back and forth to the guys in like a jovial way, and they open that can. But either way, like I tell them, like you shouldn't complain. Like I don't want to see the hands in the air. Like how can you give me the call? The holding during the play. Like we talk about all that. Like we don't want to see that. Like if we just don't want to see it. And you should never talk to an official. That's the coaches. They know too. Like it's reiterated over and over. Like there's not a soul on the sideline other than me who should be talking to those guys. Now, if they want to talk to you, the back judge wants to talk to the secondary guy and have small talk. Awesome. If the O line's in the back and he's talking to the line judge in between, awesome. But no one should ever say a word to them ever. And if they ever do, and they come over to me in the stripes and be like, "Hey, talk to your coach." Like I'm the 1996, 95 Dan that comes out on the coaching staff.
Ah,
Because there's an expectation there. Like you're going to uphold the standard and you're going to represent me the right way because my name's on the truck. So like
absolutely.
I will get a little bit not belligerent, but a little bit shitty with the staff and players more so than I am with the refs. Like and again, I've really only gotten shitty with refs once in my 18 years as a head coach, and I went right up to them after my emotions calmed down. I said, "Look, you don't know me. I apologize. That's not my style. You called the flag. You don't have to like me anymore. I'm just letting you know I apologize. It's not me." But if anyone goes up on my staff and starts bitching, like I'm going over them and I'm telling them STFU, like that's what I'm saying to them. Like guys, shut the that's it. Like there's no reason you should be talking if you want to keep coaching here. Like because that doesn't help us. Getting on a referee from a player standpoint or six, seven, eight assistants, that doesn't help our cause.
No.
They're humans. They're just going to get pissed off and want to call more against your ass. Like, so let's just stop. And we talk about, respecting the proud tradition of the past. And we're going to be the class of college football. And that's what we try to talk about, especially on game days. We don't have to like what's going on, but we don't control the refs. Like there's three things we talk about that. There's three things we don't control. We can't control the opponent. We can't control the weather, and we can't control the calls of the referees.
Yep.
And we should not be responding to any three of them, right? You can add fans in there and all that other shit, but those three we talk about we can't control. So let's not waste focus and energy on those three entities.
Now, for our listeners out there that might just be the casual fan, can you explain what you got what you guys do pregame with the officials? You guys have a pregame meeting with the officials. Do you know how far ahead of time do you know who the officials are, and do you kind of know going in
Yeah.
like, oh, hey guys, we got to watch this guy. These guys throw a couple more flags than crew B does. So, what do you do with that pregame talk and stuff like that?
Yeah, they try not to give us the same crew twice in a season.
Mm-hmm.
And our level, guys are going to get called up if they're good. They're going to go to D2. They're going to go 1AA to CAA. They're going to get called up, all the way up. So we rarely get the same crew twice in 1 year, but we will get a lot of the same guys on the same crew over the course of the years.
Yeah.
So like I usually get the assigner email on Monday from the referee. He'll send all the information about who's on the crew, who's the umpire, who's the line judge, who's the back judge, et cetera, et cetera. And then I keep a file of basically the names of who we've had and what I thought was good or bad. And even then, like after a game, not to jump ahead, but after the game, like part of our ECFOA, there's like a rating you're supposed to do as a head coach. So
Okay.
like after every game, I rate the officials, and very rarely, like it's a 1 through 5 rating. 5 is good, 1 is terrible, and if you give a rating of 3 or below, you got to give a reason why. And
Okay.
I can literally count on 2 hands in all the years that I've wrote um, something about an official who was a 3 or lower, and that's like because of my perspective. I
Yeah.
understand whether they're younger and they're learning. I understand that there's a human element. They know the luxury of special. I understand. Hey, during the game, he told me, Coach, I didn't see it.
Yep.
So like that conversation again. So like Mondays we get the assigners, and like the pregame meeting is always interesting because some guys are a lot more detailed than others. And in that meeting, we basically outline, they ask for team captains, numbers, et cetera, right-handed quarterbacks, right-handed kickers or lefties, whatever. The umpire usually asks who the center is and what his name is. And then we talk about any specialties that we have for the week, whether it's an offensive trick play on special teams, we have any
Yep.
surprise onside kicks, fake punts, etc., or anything that we might be doing that might catch them off guard. And me personally, I even give them like the code names if we have a fake punt in. So like if they hear the name getting called out by the personal protector, that gives them a heads up. And I could tell them even like the code name from the sideline for a surprise onside kick out of the huddle,
Okay.
what to listen for, because I don't want them missing it.
Yeah.
Like I don't want them to say I didn't see it, right? So all those things, I'm trying to give as much information as I can. And there's been years in the past where I've actually had diagrams and drawn it up for them, and I can't give it to them, but I want to show them it, because if there's a wacky shift or we're doing something crazy with our punt team to try and get a fake where we're moving the left side of the line over to the right side, I want to make sure they know, hey, look, the left side of the line, the guard, the tackle, and they're not on. They're off the
Yep.
ball. The personal protector is going to make a call. They're all going to shift to the right. They're going to step on. That makes the long snapper eligible, right? So like those things, like it's a very intricate, depending week to week what you have. It's either very intricate and involved, or hey, like this week, guys, we're just throwing a bubble, man. It's not meant to be thrown behind the line of scrimmage. It's meant to be thrown forward. It's not going to be a lateral. That's
Yep.
all we got this week. So it's really, it depends on week to week, but those are the things that we cover and we discuss with usually the officials being the umpire and the referee. And if
Yep.
there's, unfortunately, if there's someone there grading them, which is always a bad sign. Like if their people are in the stands, and I'm like, oh boy, it's gonna be one of them days.
Yeah. And so the listeners know, so me being an umpire, I'm also a referee too. So I'm involved in these conversations a lot with the coaches. It's our job now to go back. We have a pregame crew meeting. So after both teams leave the field, we go back into a locker room, whatever it may be, and we sit down and we go over and I explain who the captains are and say, okay, Coach Garrett mentioned that they have this trick play in, so let's be aware of that. They a double pass, for example, which is one of the hardest plays for us to judge if it's a backwards pass or a forward pass, just because of our mechanic on it. And we've gone back and forth as an association on that mechanic, but just making sure, saying, hey, just keep an eye on it. If you see that pass kind of look like it's going down the line of scrimmage, just make sure you got a good angle on it, because they do have a double pass with it. So, and technically it's not a double pass because it's a backwards pass. So it's misnamed, but different things like that really do help us out as officials, so that, like you're saying, we don't miss that, because and especially with the younger games and different things like that, you get a lot of different trick plays, especially at the JV level, where you got coaches basically drawing in the sand, go up to the manhole cover, make a left, I'm going to hit you. And they're running every trick play that they saw on TV and in a movie at you. So they kind of get a little bit upset at times if you miss that call, but it does definitely help us out as officials, having that open line of communication. And unfortunately, then we also get coaches that, hey, coach, anything you want us to look out for? Nah, just straight football. And all of a sudden they come out and they're running a swinging gate down the whole length of the field and catches us off guard. And now we're trying to check for eligible numbers and ineligibles and different things like that. So it definitely, for all the coaches out there that may be listening, be honest with the referees, because I could tell you, we're not going and telling the other team, hey, watch out for this trick play. I mean, we're out there to try to call the best game for everybody. So the more information you can give us, the better it is for both sides.
Yeah, and Mike, I even try to go, like, if we see something on film via scout, and if it's not like a one-time thing on the film, but like if it's showing itself over and over on a 3 or 4 game scout, like, hey man, the guard and center on their zone are high-lowing every game. Like
Yep,
they're illegal chop blocking. Like I'm going to bring that up too. If there's a
absolutely.
legal crack box coming from the slot that's ear holing the Mike backer, like nowadays you can't do that. I'll be like, hey, they've shown it enough, or I'm bringing it up to your attention. Or the one that we see a lot of in today's spread offense is, hey, they're throwing the ball downfield, but the other receiver's blocking while the quarterback is still throwing the ball, and the
Yep.
ball is in his hand. It's not in the air yet, and he's blocking because it's illegal. You can't block
It's
while the ball's in the air.
offensive interference. Yep.
And it never gets called. But, I mean, those are conversations I'm also bringing up. Like if it's on film from the opponent, I'm
Yep.
also bringing it to their attention as well.
Yeah, the RPO game has definitely brought in a whole new nuance to officiating the game, with just is a lineman downfield? Are they blocking downfield? Different things like that. So it's definitely something that if we find out pregame that, hey, okay, this is an RPO heavy team, because now us as officials, we don't get pregame film. We get film after the game, so we can go back and we can critique what we did with that game, but I'm not going in knowing that, hey, this team is a spread team or this team's an option team or they're going to run power and zone. So we don't have that background knowledge per se. Now, most of the coaches we kind of get a feel for. We've seen enough, so we kind of understand what they're doing. But still, you get a newer coach. We don't have that knowledge, so getting that pregame from the coaches is definitely very helpful for all of us. So keep doing that, Coach. Keep doing that.
I will.
So now, Dan, here's where I get to throw you under the bus just a little bit. Now it's time for my new segment, my quiz. You get to be the first coach that I get to test out in this. So I'm going to share my screen here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. I know Coach Garrett right now is utilizing his cell phone, but got a little presentation here for him.
Oh yeah, it's coming up. Oh yeah, look at you.
There we go.
Flagged facts.
All right, so we got our flagged facts, our Whistle Talk rule quiz. So today, I only got 2 questions for Dan because, like I said, he's my old roommate. I don't want to do wrong by him. So we only got 2 questions for him. Where I want to try to keep it as 3 questions in the future. But so here we go with question number 1. All right, so we got a punt here. So K, it's 4th and 10 at K's 30-yard line. K's scrimmage kick, also known as a punt, is blocked at the K20, so behind the line of scrimmage. And the kicker, K9, picks up the ball there and runs. He gets to the K42 where he is tackled. Dan, what do you think we got on this play? Is this a legal play?
We not only have a legal play, we have a first down, and the offense is coming back on the field, Big Mike.
Absolutely. Here we go. Let's give Dan a little
clap. Let me applause, Mike. Give me the applause.
Where
You got to have something.
Pull it up for me.
And I'm the one on the cell phone. And I'm the one on the phone.
Technology got the better of me on that one. Here we go.
Right now,
right on. You definitely got that one.
At worst, I could be 50-50 now.
Well, hold off on that one. Now, like I said, I'm trying to be nice to Dan there. So there you go. There's the result of the play. You got K 1st and 10 at the 42-yard line where he got tackled.
Yes.
All right, here comes question number 2. Well, like I said, hold off on your 50-50 because question number 2, it's a 3-part question.
Nice.
But it's technically only 2 questions, though, so I wasn't lying to you.
You're not lying.
So here we go. A, 1st and 10 at the 50-yard line. A34 takes a handoff and runs to the B45 where he's tackled inbounds during the play. So during the play, A78 blocks below the waist at the A47. So where do you think we're going with this one here, Dan?
Block below the waist, you're bringing it back 15 yards.
It is a 15-yard penalty. That is correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Where are we going to enforce that one from now? So now we started at the 50-yard line. He basically gained 5 yards to the 45-yard line, but this block happened below the waist behind the line of scrimmage at the A47. So where do you think we'll enforce this from?
15 yards from the 47.
All right. So this is where Dan's going to be happy if he was the one getting called against this. This penalty is actually going to go from the previous spot. So it's going to be 15 yards from the 50-yard line. So The high school rules this past year changed it. It was more so because of the holding penalties, where the holding penalties tended to be spot fouls. So if an offensive lineman got caught holding on a pass play and he was 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage, it ended up being a 14-yard penalty. So to kind of align everything with the college and the NFL rules, we're going, if it's behind the line of scrimmage and behind the run, we're going to go from the previous spot. So in this scenario, we would go 15 yards from the 50. So it would be 1st and 25 from A's 35-yard line.
Amen.
So same scenario, same play happens, but instead of the block below the waist, we now have a holding penalty. A64 holds at the B43. So now this penalty happens 7 yards downfield. So where are we going to enforce this one from?
So now you're going to go, if you gain 5 yards, you're bringing it back 10 from, now that's a spot foul, Mike. You can't be messing with me here, right? The spot foul happens 7 yards downfield. Yes, 1st and 13, correct. He picked up the 5 yards. Yeah, 1st and 13 from the spot foul.
Yes, sir. So 1st and 13 from the 47, as Coach said, going from that spot. All right, our last one. We have a block in the back now, downfield by wide receiver, blocks in the back at the 40-yard line. So we started at the 50. Ball carrier got 5 yards, got to the 45. Receiver was another 5 yards downfield, block in the back. Where are we enforcing this penalty from?
Definitely spot foul as well, right? 10 yards from the spot. So we're bringing it back 10 yards back to the 30-yard line, right? Spot foul. The spot foul happened at the 40, correct? Because I'm on my phone.
So it happened on the defensive 40. So they gained only 5 yards. So the 50-yard line. So got into beast territory. So that's the 40-yard line here. So this was further downfield from where the end of the run was.
Further downfield. Gotcha.
Correct. So this one would actually come from the end of the run in this scenario.
Yeah.
So because the block happened basically 10 yards beyond the line of scrimmage, we're going to go from the end of the run. So it's going to be 1st and 15 from now the A's 45-yard line. So it's just going to go back. So in essence, you're only losing 5 yards instead of because if it was the spot foul, you would have 1st and 10 again in that scenario.
Yeah. Gotcha.
All right. Yeah. So even the old dog can learn new tricks.
Absolutely. Listen, that's the thing, man. That's why I'm always talking to those guys on the sideline. I want to know what they're going through during the game. I want to hear it.
So let's see. Oh, now the clap will work for you. There we go. Well, thank you for taking part in our little quiz game there, Danny. So for the listeners, we're gonna keep going with that and quizzing everybody that we have on there. So we're even gonna have an episode where it's just going to be questions and quizzes for people. So Dan, I appreciate you taking the time out. I know your busy schedule, so let's start wrapping this up really quick. What is your opinion on the importance of officials on player development? What kind of influence do we have as officials that the players see and possibly helping them in their development? Because I mean, all of us are dealing with young men and women that we're trying to. What percentage of people do you have, Dan, that have gone to the NFL?
0. We had one make it to a camp, and he had a cup of tea with them, but one in all my years since I've been there in 2003.
So as a coach and as an official, would you think that we have some type of process in how these people may turn out to be in their other professional careers that they go for?
I mean, I would like to think so, Mike. I mean, that's why I am doing what I'm doing. I like to think we all make a difference in their lives, whether that is through football, through the game, through the teachings, through the mentoring, or all the above. I think every one of us who comes in contact with these young people have an opportunity and a responsibility to mentor and lead them and kind of show them the right way. So whether it's a coach or an official, right, it's about how we respond to the circumstances we don't create. And when we act a fool, we're not really giving them the tools for their toolbox to be successful, because they're seeing behaviors that are more acceptable now than ever in society, versus, poise and take a step back, hit pause, and think about before you open your mouth. I think we all have a responsibility to that. And I think both, especially when we're specifically talking football, on the one game a week and that 45 or 60-minute game, whether high school or college, I think it comes down to the mutual respect that the officials and the coaches and the players should all have for one another. And I think the more we can exemplify that, officials to players, players to officials, coaches to players, coaches to officials, and vice versa, officials to coaches, I think that's where that happens. Like you said, hey, 79, stop holding. You keep holding, I'm gonna throw it on you. Hey, coach, I keep telling 79, I'm gonna have to hit him with him, I have to bang him. That's life, right? It's not what you know sometimes, it's who you know. And and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about relationships. We're talking about an opportunity for a 45-minute or 60-minute game to develop a relationship that might last well past that 45 or 60-minute game, that had an impact on that young man. So I think we all have a piece in this. I think the game itself, this game has given so much, I know, to me. I know it's given so much to you. My main thing at this stage in my life is I want to get back to that game, whether that's, talking to youth football coaches or, just continually to speak and give a message to my own players that they can bring into their personal lives as fathers down the road or in their professional careers. This football thing has given me everything to this point in my life. that
Yeah,
provide for not only me and my family. So I am indebted to this game. I am grateful and so blessed to be where I am and where us all started back in, from Clifton High School to Montclair State, to the people I surrounded myself self with, guys like you, Jermaine, John Fury, Billy Johnson, Rick Giannicola, Rich O'Connor. I mean, we can go on and on with the names,
yeah,
but
absolutely.
we all pulled from them and we watched and learned and they mentored us and they didn't know how valuable of a lesson they were teaching us. We had some different personalities now. We talk about Coach O versus a Coach G. I tell each one of them though how important they were in my life to this day and how much I still pull from their teachings back when I sat in, the meeting rooms in camp to where I am today. Like, and that's what we all have. We all have a responsibility through this great game of football to really make sure these younger people, through social media, through societal norms, like the world can learn a lot from a football locker room and a football game. You can take all walks of life, all colors, races, religions, socioeconomic, demographic, and it just all comes to a stop when you're on a football team. It's all
Absolutely.
about fraternity and brotherhood. And that fraternity includes officials. It's part of the game. And there's a human element. And I understand that from jump. And I think that's why there's a mutual respect from 99.9% of the staffs and crews I ever get on a Saturday.
Yep. No, it's why, my opinion, and I've said this before, football is the greatest team sport out there because of the lessons that we all can learn and the humility that it brings to all of us and to humble everybody every now and again, no matter how great or how much they think they're great. It's a humbling game and it brings us all back to the real world. And like you said, all walks of life. It doesn't matter who you are, color, gender, anything. Okay. You got to step out onto that field. You're all there for the same reason. You know?
Amen, man. Absolutely. And you're right. Like this game, it'll humble you in a second. And because like the humility is like you all need each other. I don't care what role you play in football. You could be a 7-string defensive end. Like that scout team needs to perform during the week to make that first and second team better and vice
100%.
versa. Like, so, I mean, there's so many lessons to be pulled. And it's just a shame because we're growing up now and not us, we're growing up with our kids are growing up in a society where the transfer portal is an acceptable norm. It's okay to not be loyal to the people who are loyal to you, and it's okay to jump ship where or it's not self-serving for me instead of working at it and staying, accepting your role and excelling at your role. Like these are all things that were like mainstays when we played high school and
Yes,
college
sir.
football, like teammates, loyalty, trust, development. It's unfortunate not everybody, and we're lumping it in just because where we are and what we're talking about. But that's a norm now. Like it's okay to go shop yourself around if you're not happy, and that's not the game that we grew up around.
Yep. No, 100%. So one last question for you, bud.
Yeah.
Any newer person that's out there that may think about or be inspired by this and maybe wanting to become a football official, what kind of advice would you give to them as they approach this profession or tips or
Yeah.
recommendations that you can give to them?
Just like coaching, man, don't make yourself bigger than the game. No one's bigger than the game. Work within the parameters of the game, know your role in the game, the mechanics of the game, try to perfect your craft, whether that is, what if you're an umpire, know the mechanics inside and out and just perfect your eyes, right? Don't become a spectator or a fan of the game if you're going to choose this. Really learn and study the mechanics and get around people who know it and learn from people who've been there, just the way coaches do, right? You go out to clinics, you spend time. I live around the corner. I love going to those guys at Monmouth, because they're really good and I learn from them still at my age. So like just never stop learning and surround yourself with good people and just if you're going to do it, just don't put yourself, no one is bigger than the game. It doesn't matter coach, player, official. This game has been around for so long and it's one of the, obviously I think it's the greatest game on the planet for so many reasons. Like Mike said, the teamwork. You need 11 people acting as one. But you need 50, 60 people with one heartbeat to really be successful.
Absolutely.
That synergy, that cohesion is the same as a team as your crew. Like, and if you're able to get on a crew and you can stay with a crew for a year or two, awesome. But then when you go to a different crew, developing that synergy so like, okay, I see it and you see it and you give a hand gesture, like that matters. Like
Yeah,
those things matter, to get to know the guys you're working with and be comfortable. Like those are all things that I think are great in coaching and officiating. Work at it, perfect it, and just never make yourself bigger than the game.
absolutely. Dan, once again, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to jump on here with us tonight. Um, Everybody else out there, Dan Garrett, Kean University. Go catch one of his games. Union, New Jersey, if you're in the area, part of the NJAC, one of the hardest Division III conferences in the whole country. Great football. I don't care what level you think it is. You're playing college football, you're doing something right. Go out, catch one of his games. Dan, again, appreciate it. Love you, brother.
Love you, man.
And let's keep in touch.
Absolutely, Mike. Thanks for having me, dude. This was the best 40 minutes of my day right now, catching up with you and getting my three-pronged question attack on me. So thank you so much, dude. You're the best. Love you. Thanks, brother.
You're always.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Whistle Talk, where we unravel the fascinating world of football officiating. If you enjoyed today's discussion and want to stay in the loop with the latest insights, be sure to subscribe to Whistle Talk on your favorite podcast platform. Stay connected with us by following Whistle Talk on social media, where we share behind-the-scenes glimpses, updates, and engage with our incredible community of officiating enthusiasts. Find us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Just search for the words Whistle Talk. Your support means the world to the show, and we'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, or suggestions for future episodes. Drop us a line through our website or message me on social media. I'm always eager to connect with the fellow fans and continue the conversation. Until next time, keep blowing the whistle on the untold stories and nuances of football officiating. Thanks for being part of the Whistle Talk family. This is Mike D., the referee, saying so long for now.